Oh, James, you're always wearing sunglasses. Nope, not today. If you look in the center of my eye, can you see it? Can you see it? That's so mad. That is so mad. I spy with my little eye something beginning with L. You're not gonna believe it. You're not gonna believe it. Something beginning with L. So with the detachable screen, the question I have is, what happens if I was to lose the screen or break the screen? Because let's be honest, without the screen unit, Luna's main unit is basically unusable. Like, you can't really do anything with the main camera unit without the screen unit. So if I was to accidentally leave it on the bench, I don't know, and walk off or drop it on the floor and it smashes, like, what happens next? Like, is there a replacement screen program set up? If so, how much and how does it work? I do feel like it's quite an important bit of information that we probably should know now. Like, what happens? Like, if I lose the screen, I drop the screen, what do I do? Right now, the audio you're listening to is coming direct from the mic in the screen unit. One thing I would say with this mic setup situation is to make things a bit smoother. When you detach the screen from the main unit, you get a message on the screen saying, do you want the mics to switch over from the main unit to the mic in the screen unit? If you don't press switch, or the message disappears and you start recording, the mic is recording using the mics from the main unit, not the screen unit. To switch the mics over to start recording from the screen unit, you have to stop recording and go into the menu settings and switch the mics over from the main unit to the screen unit, and then start recording again. It's all a little bit long. I think it would be better if there was a mic switching button, whatever you want to call it, on the screen, so you can just press the button whenever you want, recording or not recording, and it will switch between the mics on the main unit and the mic on the screen unit. Look, the camera's moving, the camera's moving. Hello. Say, see? Yeah, James Loxton is the YouTube name. English, yes, English. Thank you, nice one. You can't make this up, you literally can't make this up. That just happened at the most perfectest time, because I was about to say what I'm about to say, and you'll understand why that happened in the most perfectest time. Basically, the point I was just about to say before obviously the guys came up was, you cannot currently have the mics on the main unit recording at the same time as the mic on the screen unit, which in a situation like we just had would have been perfect to have the option to turn on the mics on the main unit and have the mic on the screen unit at the same time, so you would have been able to hear what the boys were saying and you can obviously hear what I'm saying. So yeah, a handy feature to have. You probably wouldn't want the mics on the main unit and screen unit recording all of the time at the same time, but again, it would be a handy feature to have where you have a button on the screen. So right there, they just turned up. It would have been nice for me to have a button on the screen to say, you know what, let me just turn on the mic on the main unit so you could hear what they were saying, because they were obviously by the main unit and I'm by the screen unit. The thing with the detachable screen feature is you don't know how handy it is to have until you have a moment like I just had then, where those guys came up and I didn't have to be like, hold on a minute, stop, let me reposition the camera, because I had the remote in my hand. I was able to literally instantly press the joystick and it moved to the side and got us all in shot. Because I'll be honest, when I first saw the feature in the promo stuff, I probably wasn't as excited as some other people about it, but when I got Luna in my hands and I started playing around with the detachable screen, I was like, okay, I know where that will come in handy. Like you have it in your head, you're like, and that was a perfect example of where it did come in handy. I know you can control pretty much everything through the Insta360 app, same as you can, through the Mimo app with the Pocket 3 and Pocket 4, but we all know those apps are not the smoothest of apps. So the screen definitely just makes things a little bit more faster, a little bit more slick, a little bit more smoother. One thing that isn't slick and smooth, I would say, is putting the screen back onto the main unit. I keep getting a dirty metal contacts message, whatever it says, pop up on the screen, which the first time it popped up, I actually wiped down the metal down and put it back on. All of the other times I haven't wiped anything down, I've just put it back on and it's worked fine. So I don't know why I keep getting this message that pops up saying dirty metal contacts detected, because it just slows everything down because you've got to take it off and put it back on. But anyway, detachable screen, handy feature to have when it's off, not so smooth when you're putting it back on, for me anyway. Down to about there. Just like that, here we are back in the UK. I'm not gonna lie to you, Luna did not handle the Barcelona heat well at all, to the point where that talking head segment that you just saw of me talking about the screen took me so long to record, probably just over an hour, because I kept having to start because Luna was getting laggy. At one point I couldn't hear the audio properly when I was trying to play it back. Then I got an overheater message. I moved into a more shady area. I waited for a bit. I continued recording. Then I got another overheated message and I was like, you know what? I give up. I give up. I was in Barcelona with one of my mates and I left the Airbnb and I said, I won't be long, like, I don't know, an hour, 45, whatever it is. Usually that's all I need for a segment of the video like that. And I was gone for so long that he messaged me and he was like, just checking you're okay. You've been gone for a lot longer than you said. And in my head, I was like, I've hardly achieved anything. I was getting so frustrated. So I was under time constraints anyway, so I said there's no way I can continue this. Like, if I've come this far and I haven't come this far, there's no way I can get further. So I said, you know what, we're gonna have to continue the video when we're back in the UK. So here we are, and you're not gonna believe it. Today is set to be the hottest day of the year in the UK so far, but not just the hottest day of the year so far, the hottest day in June on record ever. It's meant to get up to like 38 point something, I want to say, like a rare red warning has been issued. When I left my house a minute ago, I went on the app to set the AC on in the car, and the interior was 48 degrees and outside was like 31, 32. So it's like 11:45 and it's saying it's 33 on the screen there. So I said, let me get out a little bit earlier because this afternoon is when it gets like its peak. And yeah, we'll just keep our fingers crossed and hope for the best and see how Luna handles the UK heat. So one thing I was going to continue saying about the screen when I was doing the screen segment in Barcelona, which obviously I didn't get to finish, was you cannot hear any audio when the screen is detached from the main unit. So if I was sitting over there, had the screen in my hand and main unit's over there, you can't, and you're previewing something back, you can see the visuals, you can't hear the audio because the speaker is on the main unit, not the screen unit, which, yeah, I get, that's why I can't hear it, but would it be nice for a small speaker, the fact they've put a small microphone, would it be nice for a small speaker on the screen unit? Because if you want to watch a clip back properly, you have to go back to the main unit and attach the screen unit again, which almost defeats the purpose. If there was just a small speaker so you could just hear the audio, I think that would be better, because sometimes when you're speaking in the microphone of the screen unit, like the audio cuts off a little bit. So what I was trying to do, especially whilst I was out there, was listen to the clip back that I was recording through the microphone on the screen unit, just to make sure nothing had cut out. But I couldn't do that until I went back to the main unit and connected the screen back. So yeah, I just would have liked a small mini speaker on the screen unit so I could play a clip back and hear the audio as well as see the visuals. So as I've said a million times, and as you saw, I was in Barcelona with Luna, which was actually really nice for me to be traveling with a camera, testing it out, because there's one thing like coming down the road like I am now, or going into London and testing a camera out. There's another thing traveling with a camera, because you really build up a picture, because I literally took Luna everywhere for the first bit of the trip with me, and yeah, just tested this out, tested that out. One plan I did have in my head whilst I was there, which failed, was I was in Barcelona for a music festival, which was over 3 days. And the first day of the music festival, the plan was to take Luna into the music festival and get some shots. But I was unsuccessful because I turned up and security were like, nah, the camera's too big, it's not coming in. Now, on the website, and usually on all of the music festival websites that I go to, they always say you can bring a camera in as long as the lens doesn't detach, because as soon as it detaches, I guess it crosses over into professional territory and you have to have a proper pass and all that. So even though the lens doesn't detach on Luna, yeah, they were just not happy with the size to let me bring it in. So I had to go all the way back to the Airbnb, drop Luna off, and then come back to the music festival. The security guy was like, you can leave it around the corner on the grass. I was like, are you kidding me, mate? I leave it Luna on the grass. So that plan failed, mainly down to size is what I got. They were telling me it was too big. I've never had any issues with the Pocket 3 taking that into a music festival, or the action cameras taking that into a music festival, and I go to a lot of music festivals. This was the first time I've had an issue. So I'm saying it because if you are the type of person that's doing music festival content or music event content and you're planning on taking Luna in, maybe double, triple check first, because yeah, we are looking at a bigger, heavier device. You might have problems getting in, and you don't want to do what I did and get to the front and have to travel all the way back to your Airbnb to drop it off and then come all the way back Luna empty. Another thing I noticed whilst I was out there, and actually even this morning, was there seems to be a drainage of the screen battery, like for no reason, like overnight. For example, like last night I charged the camera to 100%. I woke up this morning and I checked the camera, and the camera unit was 100% and the screen was showing 75%, whereas last night both were 100%, and obviously I haven't used it overnight. The same thing happened when I was in Barcelona. I would wake up and one of the days the screen percentage was like 60%. So yeah, I don't know what's going on, but something's going on in the background where I think there's a constant charge being pushed to the screen, which doesn't make sense in a way why the main unit would then be 100%, because if the main unit is charging the screen unit constantly, then surely the main unit would have battery taken out of it, whereas in all of the time I've woken up, the battery on the main unit is still 100% and the screen unit is like 60%, 70%. Another thing I found and still find slightly annoying, and actually don't understand why it's not there, is why can we not hold down the record button to cancel out a recording? Why? We can do it on other Insta360 cameras, we can do it on DJI's pocket cameras. It's a simple action that makes so much difference. Trust me, when I was doing that talking head segment in Barcelona, that would have come in so handy. But yeah, I don't understand why we haven't got it. Why can we not hold down the record button to cancel out a recording? Instead, we have to go into the menu, delete the clip that we don't want, or just leave it on there, and then we have a whole list of files that we don't want when we attach it to our computer, and we have to sift through them and delete them like that. It's just long. So yeah, can we please have hold down the record button to cancel out recording added? Cheers. So we've got deep track on Luna, which I've activated now, right? I think deep track is great in terms of it does exactly what it's meant to do. The thing that I think is missing, which would be even better, is face track. So right now deep track is on, so it is like my face is selected, right? So it is tracking my face. But the issue here is when I turn the camera around to face outwards now, and I turn it back round to me, that deep track doesn't lock onto my face again. It's essentially, we've deactivated it. On the Pocket 3 and on the Pocket 4, there's a dedicated face track mode function that you turn on, that even when you spin the camera away like this, it obviously locks off from your face. But when you turn the camera and spin it back around to your face, it locks back onto your face automatically. Here, it doesn't do that on Luna. So right now, there's no tracking on my face. If I wanted to activate the tracking again, I have to actually press on the screen and lock it onto my face. So a dedicated face track, so it locks onto your face automatically, would be great. One thing I was planning to do in Barcelona as part of the montage bit, which I didn't actually do, because I didn't realize we didn't have it until I was out there. In fact, I was on the plane and I was like planning stuff and I was like messing around with it, and I was like, what? And what I mean by that is there's no motion time lapse. There is no motion time lapse. It's just like a static time lapse, which doesn't make sense to have no motion time lapse on a spinning gimbal, on a spinning gimbal camera setup. Where's the motion time lapse? So can we have a motion time lapse mode added where you can, yeah, set the camera down and set the waypoints like from left, so it goes from left to, you know how it is, so it goes from left to right, so it's like a moving time lapse rather than just a static time lapse. Another thing I can't understand that's missing, why it's missing, where it is, hello, where's the color recovery when shooting in iLog? Why is it just a flat image? Why can I not activate color? Like, where's the color? Yeah, where's the color? Can we have color recovery when shooting an iLog? All right, let's talk about the zoom. And one thing I noticed whilst I was out there, you got to remember, all of this stuff is stuff I noticed as I was going along. Like, it wasn't just one day where I found all of the stuff. This was like over a period of days out shooting with Luna. The first thing with the zoom is, it's not, the slider isn't my favorite slider of sliders. It's not as smooth as it should be, and the transition between the zoom could be better, let's be honest. It's a little bit jolty as it switches. There's also a color shift as, like, let's say you're kind of at 12 and you bring it back to 1. There's definitely a slight color shift. I guess that's to do with like lens to lens. Anyway, the main thing I would like to be added is a way to bring the zoom back in instantly to 1 times. What I mean by that is, let me turn the camera around now, right? So obviously we're at 1 times now. If I press the zoom button on the screen, now we're at 2 times. If I press it again, now we're at 3 times. If I press it again, now we're at 6 times. So let's say I'm shooting this, we're now at 6 times zoom, and I want to instantly bring it back to 1 times. The only way for me to do that is hold down the slider until it comes back to 1 times, which I'll do. But you can see it stops sometimes, and it's not the smoothest. It doesn't come back instantly, right? Let's bring it back to 6 times. What I would like is the option now to have a 1 times button on the screen that I can press, and it literally brings it back. Right now on the screen I've got it saying 6 times. If I was to press that button again, it takes it to 12 times. And then if I press the button again, because it's obviously at the max, which is 12 times, now look, it pulls it instantly back to 1 times. That's the transition I want. I want there to be an option to instantly bring it back to 1 times, like you can on the iPhone. You know how it is on the iPhone. Now, when you connect to the Insta360 app to control Luna, you always have a 1x button on the screen. I get that the screen on Luna is smaller, so we're limited with the buttons we can have, but when you're at 6x and you don't want to go any further, the only way to bring it back to 1x, like you saw, is hold down the slider, which isn't the smoothest and doesn't always work, or go up to 12x so you can bring it back to 1x. Do you get what I'm saying? It would just be nice to, like I said, have a 1x button constantly on the screen, so there's always an option, no matter what like zoom level you're in, to just press 1x and it brings it back to 1x. All right, weather update, 34 right now. There is a slight breeze coming from the, wait, what is that? The north, I'm not good with the north to west thing. Let's just say the right, the right hand side of me, there is a slight breeze. There wasn't a breeze in Barcelona, so maybe this is helping. We are in the direct sun. Yeah, the screen got a little bit laggy in a segment just then, but I haven't had an overheater message, which is good. So we continue on, and you might have thought that everything I've just talked about is me moaning. It's not. It's just stuff that I've picked up using it in a real world situation whilst I was away in Barcelona that I'm like, why doesn't it have this? Why can't we do that? That's just slightly annoying, which most of that stuff that I've just said, let's be honest, can be added in a firmware update. But I'm going to switch things up right now and say this. I love the image and audio coming out of Luna, to the point where I would probably go as far as saying this is, in terms of audios and visual, my favorite Insta360 camera. There you go, I've said it. So far throughout this whole video, including all of the clips you saw in the montage bit of the video, have been shot in iLog. Right? I haven't done any adjustments. All I've done is add the Rec 709 conversion LUT, right? So I've done no adjustments. So essentially it's straight out of camera, just with the conversion LUT added. Why? Because I personally think that's how Luna looks the best in iLog. In basic is what they call it, so basically auto mode, little bit more punchy and saturated for my taste, which is kind of the thing I have with the other Insta360 cameras, right? It's a little bit on the saturated side, more vibrant side. Not necessarily a bad thing. You've got to remember, with all of this, it's personal taste, personal preference. What I am going to do now, though, is I'm going to switch in to basic. So like I said, throughout this whole video, we've been in pro mode in iLog. Now let's go into basic auto mode. I mean, even on the screen, it almost, I don't know whether it's because all I've seen on the screen is a flat image, because obviously, like I said, there's no color recovery, so any color on the screen is going to look like, whoa. This is almost verging on a little bit cartoony to me, but like I said, I think it's because I've been staring at a flat image throughout this whole video. But yeah, this is what we're looking like, essentially straight out of camera. So they call it basics, it's auto mode, with nothing adjusted, right? This is how we're looking. By the way, audio wise, you've got 3 different modes: auto wind reduction, voice enhancement, and original audio. So far throughout this whole video, it's been in auto wind reduction, which I think is my favorite in the test that I've done. It handles that really well, doesn't make the voice sound too like processed. However, in voice enhancement, I have found in the tests I've done, it does sound a little bit more processedy. Let me switch it into voice enhancement. All right, we're in voice enhancement now. But look, as you can see, well, I can definitely see it in the screen. I don't know how it's coming out where you are. The blue sky is blue, and the green grass is green. Now, you have to kind of look around you in a situation like this and say, like, what is the actual color? And I'll be honest with you, yes, it is very green and very blue. I just think it's probably a little bit more vivid for my taste versus something like iLog, where it's a lot more toned down and almost a little bit more dreamy and, I don't know, a bit more cinematic-y and filmy. That's the vibe iLog just converted to Rec 709 gives, which is why I decided to shot the whole video in it. But anyway, this is what we're sounding like in voice enhancement. Let me switch over to the third mode, which is original audio. Right, so essentially this does exactly, well, they all do exactly what they say on the tin. Voice enhancement enhances the voice. I just found it, like I said, to be a little bit more on the processy side. This is original audio. I've got a breeze coming here, as I said to you a minute ago, which I can still feel and hear. Can you, well, I was gonna say feel and hear it, you can't feel it, but can you hear it? Because essentially with original audio, you've got no like wind reduction happening, but a very nice touch we do have is obviously the built-in wind guard, which, yeah, is it working? This is original audio. All right, we're back in auto wind reduction, and let's go back to the image. So we're still in basic, right? So essentially auto mode straight out of camera. I talked about the saturation being a little bit too saturated, for my taste anyway. One thing that is good though, is very good, is if you do find the saturation a little bit too saturated, you can adjust the saturation in camera, which is like a very nice feature to have. To do that, you have to be in pro mode. So let's switch over to pro mode now. Really handy to feature have. Really handy to feature to have. You can adjust here in pro mode the sharpness, the contrast, and the saturation. So right now the sharpness is in the middle, so number 3, and the saturation and contrast is at the max, number 5. Now with something like this, it's always better to be slightly under than slightly over, because, you know, it's like the whole making pizza thing. If you overdo a pizza, you can't like underdo it, like bring it back. Whereas if you underdo a pizza, you can always add a little bit more heat later. So definitely 5 is going to be too strong for both of these settings, contrast and saturation. Let's bring it now down to halfway, so number 3. Right, here we are, contrast and saturation in the middle. So essentially all 3 of the adjustments in the middle. I can already see a difference on the screen. The blue is not as blue. You know what? Let's now bring it down to the lowest, which is number 1. So this is how we're looking like in the middle at number 3. And this is how we're looking with contrast and saturation at number 1. And I think I said earlier that the sharpness is in the middle at number 3. There is no number for it. It's just medium, high or low. It's in the middle, medium. So yeah, this is number 1. Now, this probably looks a little bit better to me on the screen, but some might say this is probably a little bit flat. The good thing with saturation and contrast is you can add it obviously in post. You can make any adjustments in post. Like I say, it's always, I find, easier to add things than take away in a situation like this. But yeah, I think it's a really nice option to have the option to adjust the saturation and contrast in camera. Let's talk about 4K versus 8K. I'll be totally honest with you, because I was struggling so much shooting with Luna in Barcelona in 4K in the heat, I didn't get around to testing 8K out too much. I have tested it out, so we will quickly switch to 8K in a minute, because so far throughout this whole video it's been in 4K. I think we need to do a whole nother video, 4K versus 8K. The first thing I've noticed 4K versus 8K is 8K definitely looks a little bit warmer. So we're in full auto mode, everything straight out of camera in basic, in 4K. Let's stay in this exact position and let's switch to 8K. Can you see any difference in the tones, mainly on the face? I did notice the face was looking slightly darker on the bigger screen. Can't really tell on the smaller screen when I switched to 8K. I don't know if that's a thing or whether I was just, yeah, going mad because of the heat. But yeah, slightly more warmer. I do need to do more tests, like I said, so I can't comment too much because yeah, I haven't done enough tests in it, but I know 8K is there. Let's cover that in a different camera. But yeah, this is what things are looking like in 8K. Obviously, you've got tons of filters to play around with, which we won't cover right now. We'll cover in another video. Some of them I like, some of them I don't like, but that's how it goes with filters in any camera. But look, let's round this up now and go back to the 2 main things coming out of a camera. Like I said, the image and the audio. I've said it before, I'll say it again. I think, in my opinion, this is the best image and audio coming out of an Insta360 camera. Sometimes I listen to the audio back, I'm like, it sounds like I've got a wireless mic attached when I haven't, like, because it's so good. Sometimes I look at the iLog image and I'm like, this is so good, like, this is so good. Obviously we're in auto basic mode now, which, like I said, isn't my favorite, but I would still use it. On other Insta360 cameras, auto mode wasn't my favorite. Sometimes it would fall apart and be a bit mushy, especially under the hat. I haven't found this so far with Luna. So yeah, overall image and audio, I've just been so impressed, to the point, like I've said, where this is probably, in my opinion, the best image and audio coming out of an Insta360 camera. The low light performance coming out of Luna, which we haven't even touched on yet. The clips I took in Barcelona in pure video mode, which usually I'm not a massive fan of shooting in those low light modes. Mate, I watched those clips back and I was trying to like pixel peep for noise and grain in the dark areas. I couldn't find anything. I couldn't find no noise and grain. Like the low light performance coming out of Luna, again, I'll probably put out there and say, so far in the tests I've done, the best looking low light images coming out of a camera like this. Obviously, I need to do a full low light test, but first impressions wise, definitely one of the best I've seen coming out of a camera like this. What's the word I'm looking for? It's like the Eston resistance. Like, you know the word? Like the Eston resistance. Is that the word? I hope it is. That's meant to be a good word, by the way. The Eston's resistance. We did it. We did it. From London to Barcelona, back to London, in the car, to the field, and now back to the car. We did it. All without melting. And Luna actually held up really well. So there we go. Was I a massive fan of the way Luna was released? One thing I forgot to touch on? No, probably not. Was I a massive fan of the launch? Probably not. I understand hype, I understand all of that, I understand how it works, but mate, the videos where they were like, I can only show you the button, or I can only show you the, I'm like, nah, like, this is verging on annoying now. It did launch all of a sudden to the point where when it actually launched, it wasn't available anywhere in the UK on launch day until 2 days after. I went on it was available on Insta360's website, but the delivery time frames it was giving me, I wasn't happy with. I thought it wasn't going to come in time for my trip to Barcelona. So I panicked and I ordered it anyway on the Thursday, which was the day after release. And then it became available on Amazon the day after on the Friday, which actually, funny enough, between 1 and 2 on the Friday, Luna became available everywhere in the UK on all the usual retailer places that I ordered the cameras from. It's like they weren't ready on the Wednesday because it was all of a sudden, so they were ready for the Friday. It was just weird how it happened. Anyway, obviously Amazon's delivery is instant, so it came the next day. So now I have 2 Lunas, and the annoying thing is, I don't understand this, the Luna from Insta360 was shipped in the UK, because I can see the shipping address and how it was shipped. It was shipped in the UK to me. I've initiated a return, and they're telling me I have to ship it to China, which is going to cost me £35 to ship it to China. Why do I have to ship it to China? Why can't I ship it to the UK where you sent it to me from? So this returns process is not as smooth and cheap as I thought it was going to be. So yeah, but I can't have 2 Lunas, so I've got to send that back. Anyway, look, I've said what I need to say. Not a fan of the way it was released, not a fan of the launch, but a massive fan of the camera. Some annoying things in there which I've covered. Some of them I can't understand why they're there when they've had this long. Like when we think about when we first saw Luna was going to come out, what was that, over a year ago, and the amount of people they probably sent the camera to test it, like why are some of these things that I've mentioned not ironed out before the camera's released? I don't know, but most of it can be fixed in a firmware update. But anyway, that's all I have to say for today, and I'll see you another day when it's time to play.